Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you never miss any video lesson from RAU'S IAS Study Circle. Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading from your UPSC perspective. Today we shall discuss the important news which has appeared in the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 29th April 2020. The news to be discussed has been displayed on your screen and timestamping for the same has been provided in the description box below. So in this regard, let's start our today's discussion. In our series of discussion on how to best utilize the ELEARN platform of RAU'S IAS Study Circle, today we shall understand as to how to find any news which has been discussed in DNS videos or any other videos of RAU'S IAS Study Circle. So what you can do is to go to the video section and then to the video courses. Here what you do is to click the DNS platform. Once you click the DNS, you see a variety of videos appearing on the screen, such as all the DNS videos, analysis of economic survey videos done by Baswa sir, videos with respect to discussion and analysis of GS mains questions of 2019, and also prelims practice questions with respect to target 2020. So these are the different videos which you will find in the video courses specifically with respect to DNS. So suppose you have to find any particular news, for example, say Gulf Cooperation Council. So what you do is to write the particular topic which you want to search and then press the filter button. Now see, a particular video appears whereby the Gulf Cooperation Council was discussed, and this you can also find in the description of that particular video. As you can see, this particular news was discussed with respect to the news appearing in the paper with respect to the fact that Prime Minister's help sought to bring bodies from GCC nations. Suppose you want to find out about black holes. Now you again press the filter button and then see that this particular topic of black holes was discussed by Nagendra sir on the DNS video dated 26th April 2020. The news discussed on black hole was with respect to first merger of two black holes with unequal masses detected. So here various aspects of first merger of black holes as well as gravitational wave was discussed. Now a question has already been asked by UPSC on gravitational wave. Hence this topic becomes very important for you to understand from your prelims perspective. Suppose you want to find out about Mamallapuram if anything has been discussed in the DNS videos. So the moment you press the filter button, you see 3 videos with respect to the word Mamallapuram appears on your screen. Now take this video dated 21st October 2019. Now here this particular news was discussed with respect to after Mamallapuram the reality of asymmetry. It says that the article highlights that in order to counter China, India must need to get back to its growth trajectory of 8 to 9% enjoyed by during the tenure of Dr. Manmohan Singh. Similarly, in the video dated 13th October 2019, the Mamallapuram summit takeaways were discussed as the Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in India for an informal summit with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And on DNS dated 12th October 2019, various aspects with respect to Mamallapuram summit were discussed along with the historical importance such as Mamallapuram, Shore Temple, Pallava Dynasty, Arjuna's Penance, Varaha Cave, cultural information, Shanti Nilava Vendam, areas of cooperation, etc. So you see that when Chinese President arrived in India, this particular news with respect to Mamallapuram summit was discussed in different DNS videos and different aspects of the news were discussed including historical aspect with respect to international relation and also about the Mamallapuram summit. Now suppose you want to know about the fiscal developments in India which has taken in the last few years. So what you do is to press the filter button. Now you see a video of economic survey analysis done by Baswa sir appears on your screen. So you see that in this survey analysis, fiscal development has been discussed by Baswa sir in detail. Now similarly, suppose you want to discuss about digital India. So what you do is to again press the filter button and you see 3 videos appearing with respect to digital India. The first 2 are DNS videos and the next one is a GS mains 2019 question analysis and discussion. Now here a particular question of GS paper 2 was discussed with respect to the Digital India campaign of the Indian government. So here you can not only go through the 2 DNS videos but also this particular video where we discussed this particular question which appeared in the mains examination. Now in this analysis we discuss the exact structure which needs to be presented in your answer writing. Now next, suppose you want to know about secularism. So when we press the filter button, we see that 2 videos appear with respect to secularism. One is on 17th November 2019 and the next also appears as a mains discussion of 2019 question. The question was, what can France learn from the Indian constitution's approach to secularism? So you see that these important topics have been discussed in various DNS videos, economic survey done by Baswa sir as well as in the prelims target of 2020 as well as in the GS mains discussion of 2019. So, in case you want to search any particular topic discussed in DNS videos or any other videos of RAU'S IAS Study Circle, all you have to do is to type that particular subject or topic in this particular section. So, to find out any particular topic which has been discussed in DNS video or any other video, including video of economic survey, all you have to do is to type here in the filter bar. Now, another important announcement is to be made is that the Prelims Compass 2020 for international organizations and important current events is now available at the ELEARN platform of RAU'S IAS Study Circle. So what you can do is to download this particular document and go through the important highlights as provided in this Prelims Compass magazine for international organizations and important international current events. The first news to be discussed appears on page number 1 and also as a continuation on page number 8. It says $1.5 billion ADB loan to fund COVID response. So, according to this news, it says that the government of India has taken a loan of $1.5 billion from Asian Development Bank. So, this loan has been taken by the government of India in order to ramp up or improve its health facilities and infrastructure, and also to provide social protection to 80 crore Indians, as has been promised by the central government with respect to its rupees 1.7 lakh crore welfare package. Further, the Asian Development Bank is also in talks with the government of India with respect to funding the MSME sector and also to extend health services through public-private partnership. Now, this particular picture has been taken from the website of ADB, which says that ADB approves $1.5 billion financing each for India, Indonesia, as well as the Philippines to support the COVID-19 response. So not only India but also Indonesia as well as Philippines has also got this $1.5 billion aid from the Asian Development Bank. And the loan provided by Asian Development Bank is approved under ADB's COVID-19 Active Response and Expenditure Support CARES program. So this becomes an important aspect to be remembered from your prelims perspective with respect to loan provided by ADB to Government of India, Indonesia as well as Philippines. Now this website highlights that the financing by ADB will assist the governments in their efforts to alleviate the impact of the novel coronavirus disease pandemic on public health, livelihoods as well as the economy. So the loan is provided to these different countries in order to improve their public health infrastructure, livelihoods of people and also the economy of these different countries including India. Now this topic becomes important with respect to loan provided by ADB to the Government of India under the section of current events of international importance, and question may be asked either with respect to ADB or with respect to the loan provided by ADB with respect to the section of economy. So this becomes a very important news for your upcoming prelims examination of 2020. So the Asian Development Bank's CARES program, that is COVID-19 Active Response and Expenditure Support Program, will contribute directly to the improvement of health facilities as well as social protection for more than 800 million people, that is more than 80 crore people. And the benefits through the loan will be provided to families below poverty line, farmers, healthcare workers, women, senior citizens, people with disabilities, low wage earners, as well as construction workers. Now the CARES program of the Asian Development Bank is funded through COVID-19 Pandemic Response Option or CPRO, and this has been provided under ADB's Counter-Cyclical Support Facility. Now CPRO was established by ADB as part of its $20 billion expanded assistance with respect to fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. Further, it says that the CARES program will be provided with a $2 million technical assistance grant to support the government, and this support will be done in order to strengthen their operational framework, in order to strengthen their efficient targeting, delivery and monitoring with respect to the COVID-19 situation, and also with respect to evaluation of this pro-poor economic package with respect to health sector and also with respect to social protection interventions. So these are some of the important aspects which you must know with respect to the CARES program of Asian Development Bank. And this CARES program is funded through the COVID-19 Pandemic Response Option, that is CPRO, and this CPRO is under ADB's Counter-Cyclical Support Facility. And further, CPRO was established as part of ADB's $20 billion expanded assistance to different states, and out of which $1.5 billion each has been provided to Government of India, Indonesia as well as the Philippines. Now the Asian Development Bank has also said that it will support India in the medium term as well. It says that the ADB will support the Government of India in their efforts to coordinate with other development partners in order to stimulate economy, build capacity for monitoring and evaluation of government programs, as this support by the ADB will help in improving economic resilience against future shocks. So, ADB is also willing to support short to medium term measures in order to restore dynamic economic growth of India by exploring all available financing options. And the support by the Asian Development Bank in the medium term includes support for MSMEs by facilitating access to finance through credit guarantee schemes, integration into global and national value chains through enterprise development centers, and also credit enhancement facility for infrastructure projects. So these are the different ways in which ADB intends to help India in the medium term. Now, since we are talking about ADB, it's also important to know about the Asian Development Bank, and it was established in 1966 and it is headquartered in Manila in Philippines. So it says that the Asian Development Bank envisions a prosperous, inclusive, resilient and sustainable Asia and the Pacific. Further, the ADB assists its members and partners by providing loans, technical assistance, grants, and equity investments to promote social and economic development. So basically, the ADB provides loans in order to promote social and economic development of the region. Further, it highlights that ADB also facilitates policy dialogues, provides advisory services, and mobilizes financial resources through co-financing operations, including tapping official, commercial, and export credit sources. So these are the different ways in which ADB helps different countries in order to promote their social and economic development in the regions. So, with respect to its membership, it highlights that when it was established in 1966, it had 31 members and now it has grown to 68 members, of which 49 members are from within Asia and the Pacific and 19 members are from outside Asia Pacific. So this again becomes an important aspect to be remembered from your prelims perspective, that 49 members of ADB are from within Asia and the Pacific and 19 members are also from outside the Asia or the Pacific. Now, India is also a member of Asian Development Bank, and this particular picture highlights that as of 31st December 2018, ADB shareholders consist of 48 developing and developed members within Asia and Pacific region and 19 members from outside the region. Now, among the shareholdings, Japan has the maximum shareholding in the Asian Development Bank at 15.6%, followed by United States at 15.6%. So the top two shareholders are Japan and second United States, and this is followed by People's Republic of China as it has 6.4% of shareholding in ADB, and after China, India holds 6.3% of shareholdings in the Asian Development Bank, and the fifth shareholder is Australia at 5.8%. So these are the top 5 shareholders of Asian Development Bank, and this aspect becomes important from your prelims perspective. So this particular news with respect to $1.5 billion ADB loan to fund COVID response is an important aspect to be remembered from the perspective of international relations as well as economy. The next news to be discussed appears on page number 8. It says anti-graft law covers deemed universities. Officials are public servants as per the Supreme Court of India. Now in this news it highlights that the Supreme Court of India has held that cases of bribery as well as corruption of officials of deemed universities can be tried under Prevention of Corruption Act 1988, as these officials as well as functionaries of deemed universities of India shall be considered as public servants as per the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988. Now the Supreme Court has given this judgment because according to the court, these officials as well as functionaries of deemed universities perform duties which impacts state, public as well as the community at large. Further, the Supreme Court has also held that object of Prevention of Corruption Act 1988 was not only to prevent the social evil of bribery and corruption, but also to make the same applicable to individuals who might conventionally not be considered as public servants. So in this regard, the Supreme Court held that the purpose under the Prevention of Corruption Act was to shift focus from those who are officially referred as public officials under the Prevention of Corruption Act to those individuals who perform public duties. So as per the Supreme Court of India, the officials and functionaries of deemed universities perform public duties and hence they can be termed as public officials as per the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988. Now here you need to note two things. First of all, what is the meaning of deemed university? And next, whether officials or functionaries of universities, whether they qualify as public officials or public servant within the Prevention of Corruption Act of 1988. So first and foremost is to understand that the term university as well as deemed university has been defined under the University Grants Commission Act of 1956. And section 2F of this act defines university. It says that university means any university established or incorporated by or under any central act or a provincial act or a state act, and also includes any such institution which may be categorized as university by the University Grant Commission. Now, Section 3 of this particular act mentions that the central government may, on the advice of the University Grant Commission, declare by notification in the official gazette that any institution of higher education other than a university shall be deemed to be a university for the purpose of this act. So it's important to note that the central government, on the advice of UGC, can declare any institution of higher education other than a university to be a deemed to be university or a deemed university. Further, another important aspect to be highlighted is that all provision of this act, that is the UGC Act of 1956, shall apply to such deemed universities recognized by the University Grant Commission. So these two aspects becomes important with respect to deemed university, that these universities shall be established by the central government on the advice of the University Grant Commission. And secondly is the fact that all provisions of University Grant Commission Act of 1956 shall apply to these deemed to be universities or deemed universities. So, after understanding the concept of deemed university as well as university, which has been defined under the UGC Act of 1956, let us understand as to why the Supreme Court declared officials and functionaries of deemed universities as public servants. Now, in this regard, the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988 has defined the term public servant under section 2C of the particular act. Now, with respect to educational institutions, the term public servant includes any person who is a vice chancellor or member of any governing body, professor, reader, lecturer, or any other teacher or employee by whatever designation called of any university. Now, here it's important to note that the term university has also been understood to be deemed university, because all the provisions of UGC Act 1956 also applies on deemed university. So it says of any university and any person whose services have been availed of by a university or any other public authority in connection with holding or conducting examinations. Further, public servant chat also includes any person who is an office bearer or an employee of an educational institution, including scientific, social, cultural, or other institution. And such person who is an office bearer of such institution receives any financial assistance from the central government or state government or any local or other public authority. That is, if these institutions receive any financial help from any government body. So it is in this regard that the Supreme Court has said that public servant also includes functionaries and officials of deemed universities of the central government with respect to bribery as well as corruption under Prevention of Corruption Act of 1988. Thus, this topic becomes important primarily from the perspective of your prelims examination, from the perspective of Indian polity and governance. The next news to be discussed appears on page number 8. It says, NITI Aayog slams India's terror ranking. Report questions opaque funding of Institute for Economics and Peace, which has provided for the Global Terrorism Index of 2019. So according to the Global Terrorism Index 2019, it has ranked India as the 7th worst country affected by terrorism, ahead of conflict-ridden countries such as Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, Burkina Faso, Palestine, as well as Lebanon. And it is because of this that NITI Aayog has criticized this particular report of Global Terrorism Index of 2019. Now it highlights that this particular report is a comprehensive study which analyzes the impact of terrorism on 163 countries, which covers 99.7% of the world's population. Now, as you can see, this report has put India at the 7th worst country which is affected by terrorism. Now, important point to be noted is that India has moved from 8th position to 7th position with respect to the Global Terrorism Ranking Index. It means that last year's ranking put India at the 8th worst country hit by or impacted by terrorism. And for the 2019 report of Global Terrorism Index, it has ranked India as the 7th worst country impacted by terrorism. So it is because of this poor ranking of India that NITI Aayog has criticized this particular report of Global Terrorism Index compiled by Institutes for Economics and Peace. Now the question which arises is that why is NITI Aayog compiling such a report on these different global indices including the Global Terrorism Index? Now this is because the Cabinet Secretariat has asked NITI Aayog to track 32 such global indices in order to find out that where is India lacking and also to suggest as to how these indices can help drive reforms as well as growth for India. So basically NITI Aayog is reviewing all the global indices which ranks India on different parameters including the Global Terrorism Index. Now according to Cabinet Secretariat, this is important because such poor rankings of India on different parameters impacts global investments in India and also other opportunities. So it is because of this that Cabinet Secretariat has tasked NITI Aayog to study about these different global indices and as to why India is lacking on different parameters. So it is because of this that NITI Aayog has criticized the 2019 Global Terrorism Index but has also questioned the opaque funding of Institute for Economics and Peace. Now this is what has been highlighted in this report. Now, from your prelims perspective, you must know about the Global Terrorism Index of 2019, its important reports, as well as who publishes this report. So, as has already been mentioned, that it is published by Institute for Economics and Peace, and it has ranked India as the 7th worst country affected by terrorism. Now, in this regard, let us go through some of the important highlights of this particular Global Terrorism Index report of 2019. Now, as per this report, death from terrorism fell by 15.2% from 2017 to 2018. As you can see, in the year 2017, more than 18,000 deaths took place, whereas in 2018, it is less than 16,000 deaths. So overall, there has been a decline of 15.2% with respect to death caused by terrorism. Now, this particular figure highlights about the 10 countries which accounts for 87% of deaths from terrorism in 2018 itself. And as per this report, Afghanistan has accounted for most number of deaths from terrorism. And Afghanistan accounts for 46% of deaths caused by terrorism with respect to the overall deaths caused by terrorism. Now, with respect to India, this report says that 2% of death takes place from terrorism. So, as per this figure, the top 10 countries which accounts for 87% of death on account of terrorism are Afghanistan, Nigeria, Iraq, Syria, Somalia, Pakistan, Mali, Congo, India, as well as Yemen. Now, this particular figure highlights about the largest decrease in deaths from terrorism for the year 2017-18, whereby Iraq has witnessed the maximum decrease in death with respect to terrorism. Now, this particular figure highlights about 4 deadliest terrorist groups in 2018, and it highlights that for the first time since 2013, ISIL was not the deadliest terrorist group. So, Taliban as of now is the deadliest terrorist group in 2018 as per the Global Terrorism Index of 2019. So, according to this report, the 4 deadliest terrorist groups are Khorasan chapter of Islamic State, Boko Haram, ISIL, as well as Taliban. And here Taliban has overtaken ISIL as a most or as the deadliest terrorist organization. Now, in this regard, you must know about the Khorasan chapter of the Islamic State, as according to this report, it is one of the 4 deadliest terrorist organizations. Now, the Khorasan chapter of Islamic State is an affiliate of the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant, that is ISIL, and it is active in Afghanistan, Pakistan, as well as. So, the Khorasan chapter is an ISIL affiliate and it seeks to establish a caliphate in the Khorasan region. This Khorasan region covers parts of Iran, Central Asia, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Now, this becomes an important point to be remembered from your prelims perspective. So, from your prelims perspective, you should know about the Khorasan region as it covers parts of Iran, Central Asia, Afghanistan, as well as Pakistan. Now, this Khorasan chapter of ISIL emerged in 2014 and it is comprised of local militants and includes members of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which is an estranged members of Lashkar-e-Islam. The report says that the majority of terrorist activity attributed to the Khorasan chapter occurs in Afghanistan as well as in Pakistan. So in this regard, from your prelims perspective, you must know about the Khorasan region and also about the Khorasan chapter of the Islamic State. So this report highlights the 10 countries which have been impacted by terrorism have been ranked as per the number of deaths. These countries are Afghanistan, Iraq, Nigeria, Syria, Pakistan, Somalia, India, Yemen, Philippines, as well as Democratic Republic of Congo. and this ranking is as per the number of deaths taken place due to terrorism. Now for Afghanistan, the maximum death due to terrorism has caused by Taliban as well as the Khorasan chapter of Islamic State. Whereas with respect to Iraq, the most number of death has been caused because of the Islamic State. Moving on to Nigeria, the most number of death has been caused because of the Boko Haram group. Whereas for Syria, there are a number of terrorist organizations such as Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, that is ISIL, Kurdistan Workers' Party, as well as the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Now with respect to Pakistan, the most number of deaths has taken place because of the Khorasan chapter of Islamic State as well as because of the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. For Somalia, the most number of deaths has taken by Al-Shabaab group, which is again a terrorist organization. Now coming to India, there are various other groups as well which has been not highlighted in these other countries, such as Maoists, Communist Party of India Maoist, as well as Hizbul Mujahideen. So these are three different organizations which have been not mentioned in other countries, which are responsible for deaths in India because of terrorism. Thus, we can summarize our study with respect to Global Terrorism Index of 2019 as the death from terrorism has decreased by 15.2% in 2018. Taliban has overtaken ISIL to become the deadliest terrorist group in the world, recording a 71% increase in terrorism death. Now, another important aspect is that 98 countries have improved this year, and this is the highest number of countries to improve on year-to-year basis since 2004. Now, the report also highlights that terrorism still remains a global security threat, with 71 countries recording at least one death in 2018. Another important aspect highlighted here is that deaths in Europe fell by 70%, with Western Europe recording its lowest number of incidents since 2012. Another important aspect highlighted is that there has been an increase in far-right terrorism for the third consecutive year in Western Europe, North America, as well as Oceania. Further, it says that the global economic impact of terrorism was $33 billion in 2018, and this is a decrease of 38% from the previous year, that is from 2017. So these can be said to be some of the important highlights of 2019 Global Terrorism Index, which has been compiled by Institute for Economics and Peace. So this topic from your prelims perspective becomes important from the perspective of current events of international importance. The next news to be discussed also appears on page number 8. The news says United States Commission on International Religious Freedom downgrades India in the 2020 list, whereby the Religious Freedom Panel lists India among countries of particular concern. So this news highlights that the US Commission on International Religious Freedom has put India as a part of countries of particular concern. Now this particular report of United States Commission on International Religious Freedoms categorize countries into different aspects such as countries of particular concern, special watch list, and entries of particular concern. So in this regard, first of all, let us understand these different categories, that is countries of particular concern, special watch list countries, and entries of particular concern. Now the report mentions about countries of particular concern. It says that the International Religious Freedom Act of US defines countries of particular concerns as countries where the government engages in or tolerates particularly severe violations of religious freedom. So CPCs are those countries where the government engages in or tolerates particularly severe violation of religious freedom. Now, particularly severe violations of religious freedom has been defined under the United States International Religious Freedom Act. It says that particularly severe violation of religious freedom means systematic, ongoing, and egregious violations, that is shocking violation, and includes violations such as torture or cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishment, prolonged detention without charges, causing the disappearance of persons by abduction or clandestine detention of those persons, or other flagrant denial of right to life, liberty, or the security of persons. So if any countries engages in these activities, then such countries can be categorized as countries of particular concerns as the government engages or tolerates particularly severe violations of religious freedom. Now the other two aspects are special watch list and entries of particular concerns. Now countries under special watch list are of a lower category as compared to countries of particular concerns. So the International Religious Freedom Act defines the State Department special watch list for countries where government engages in or tolerates severe violations of religious freedom. Now entries of particular concerns mainly includes non-state actors. So it highlights that the Frank-Wolf Act requires the United States government to identify non-state actors engaging in particularly severe violations of religious freedom and designate them as entries of particular concern or EPCs. So these are the three categories with respect to this particular report of US Commission on International Religious Freedom, namely countries of particular concern, countries under special watch list, and entries of particular concern, whereby it deals mostly with non-state actors. So the law defines a non-state actor as a non-sovereign entity that exercises significant political power and also territorial control. So significant political power and territorial control becomes two important aspects to wield by non-state actors. Next, it mentions that non-state actor is outside the control of any sovereign government and often employs violence in pursuit of its objectives. So this can be said to be the definition of non-state actor, and you can use this definition provided by the International Religious Freedom Act of US in any of your answer writing. So it is in this regard that United States Commission on International Religious Freedom has included India within the countries recommended for designation as countries of particular concern. So according to this report, the government of India engages in or tolerates particularly severe violations of religious freedom. And it is because of this the government of India has rejected this particular report of United States. The other countries included within the list of CPCs are Burma, China, Eritrea, Iran, Nigeria, North Korea, Pakistan, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, as well as Vietnam. Whereas countries recommended for State Department Special Watch List, that is SWLR, Afghanistan, Algeria, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Central African Republic, Cuba, Egypt, Indonesia, Iraq, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Nicaragua, Sudan, Turkey, and Uzbekistan. Now, as per the Global Terrorism Index of 2019, the maximum death took place in Afghanistan in the year 2018. And despite this fact, Afghanistan has been placed under State Department's Special Watch List, and SWL is a category lower as compared to CPCs, that is, countries of particular concern. Further, the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom has recommended the following to its State Department. It has asked the State Department to redesignate as countries of particular concerns the following 9 countries, namely Burma, China, Eritrea, Iran, North Korea, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. Whereas it has asked to designate as additional CPCs the following 5 countries, whereby it has included India, Nigeria, Russia, Syria, as well as Vietnam. Further, it has asked to maintain on SWL the following 4 countries, that is, countries under special watch list, namely Cuba, Nicaragua, Sudan, and Uzbekistan. Further, it has also asked to include the following countries on special watch list, namely Afghanistan, Algeria, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Central African Republic, Egypt, Indonesia, Iraq, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, and Turkey. Next, the Commission has asked the State Department of US to redesignate as EPCs, that is, entries of particular concern, the following 5 non-state actors or terrorist organizations, namely Al-Shabaab in Somalia, Boko Haram in Nigeria, Houthis in Yemen, ISKP in Afghanistan, and the Taliban in Afghanistan. And the Commission has also asked the US State Department to designate as additional EPC or entries of particular concern, namely the following non-state actors, that is HTS in Syria. Now HTS stands for Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. So these are the following recommendations of United States Commission on International Religious Freedom of 2020 with respect to CPCs, SWL, and EPC. Now these terrorist organizations or non-state actors has also been discussed in the previous analysis with respect to the Global Terrorism Index of 2019. So in this regard, these organizations again become important from our prelims perspective, as questions may be asked on these non-state actors and also the areas in which they operate. Now this particular report also highlights about India, as it has put India under countries of particular concern. It highlights that India took a sharp turn in the year 2019 due to concerns about Citizenship Amendment Act, as well as the proposed National Registers for Citizens, anti-conversion laws, and situation in Jammu and Kashmir. So according to the report, the report highlights 4 situations according to which India took a sharp downturn in 2019. These 4 situations were because of Citizenship Amendment Act, because of National Register of Citizens, anti-conversion laws, and situations in Jammu and Kashmir. The report highlighted that the national government used its parliamentary majority to institute national level policies which violated religious freedom across India, especially for Muslims. The panel said that the countries of particular concern designation was also recommended for India because of national and various state governments allowed nationwide campaigns of harassment and violence against religious minorities to continue with impunity, and the state as well as central governments also engaged in tolerated hate speech and incitement to violence against the religious minorities. So it is in this regard the Commission has also recommended the United States government to take stringent action against India under the International Religious Freedom Act. These stringent action includes targeted sanction on Indian government agencies as well as their officials responsible for severe violations of religious freedom, and this to be done by freezing their individual assets or prohibiting or barring their entry into United States under the human rights related financial and visa authorities by citing specific religious freedom violations. So these can be said to be the highlight of United States Commission on International Religious Freedom report of 2020, whereby the panel has suggested to put India under countries of particular concern. So in this analysis, we discussed about countries of particular concern, special watch list countries, and entries of particular concerns, whereby mostly non-state actors are categorized. So this particular report becomes important from the perspective of current events of international importance in your prelims examination, and questions may be asked in your upcoming 2020 examination with respect to this particular report. Now the next news to be discussed appears as an article on page number 7. It says privacy concerns during a pandemic. The government's technology solutions to fight COVID-19 do not meet minimum legal requirements. Now similar news whereby it was mentioned that implement Aayog Setu but only through a law has already been discussed in detail on DNS dated 21st April 2020. Now in this news analysis we discussed about concerns on citizens' rights with respect to Aayog Setu app, concerns with respect to the privacy, autonomy as well as movement, comparison of Aayog Setu app with that of Aadhaar, as there is no legal sanction to apply Aadhaar Setu app, and also the fact that Aadhaar Setu app uses information from a person's mobile phone without any legal sanction. Further, we also discussed about new privacy designs on the Aayog Setu app by the government, and also a way forward which was provided in this article whereby it mentioned that there is a need for a law in order to implement the Aadhaar Setu app. Now, on similar lines, this article also provides for the same aspect. It says that the government's technology solution to fight COVID-19 do not meet minimum legal requirements. So, in this extraordinary situation, in order to meet the COVID-19 response, government must pass a law whereby it must mentions the use of different technology in order to fight the deadly COVID-19 virus. So, in this regard, this article says that in order to meet the extraordinary situation created due to COVID-19 virus, the government has invoked use of technology at three levels. First, in creating a list of persons suspected to be infected with COVID-19. Now, there is nothing wrong with creating a list of persons suspected with COVID-19 because it is only through this list that is we'll be able to find out as to not only the number of persons infected by COVID-19 but also the area in which they reside. However, the article mentions that as of now there is no law with respect to publication of such list. Second, it says that the government is using technology in order to deploy geofencing and drone imagery to monitor compliance by quarantined individuals. Now here again the article focuses on the fact that as of now there is no law again whereby drones can be utilized for imagery to monitor compliance by quarantined individuals. And third, the article says that the government wants to use technology through use of contact tracing smartphone applications such as Aayog Setu app. Now the concerns relating to Aayog Setu app has been discussed in detail in a DNS dated 21st April 2020. So in this regard, let us go through the problems highlighted in this article with respect to state activities. The article says that in creating a list of infected persons, state governments have channeled the Epidemic Diseases Act of 1897. But the Epidemic Diseases Act of 1897 does not authorize state to publicize such information. Further, the article says that the use of geofencing and drone technologies similarly is unsanctioned. That is, there is no law which sanctions the use of drone technology to check quarantine people. Further, the article says that cell phone based surveillance may be allowed in extreme cases but subject to the Indian Telegraph Act of 1885. Now, with respect to use of drones, this article says that as drones are equipped with the ability to conduct thermal imaging, nighttime reconnaissance, and the ability to integrate facial recognition into existing database such as Aadhaar, is also not legally permitted. So overall, this article says that there are certain legal implications with respect to use of technology which are not sanctioned through any law. Further, it says that even security concerns have been raised on the use of Aayog Setu app. Now here security concerns relate to primarily the privacy rights issue. Further, this article says that Aayog Setu app's technical architecture and its source code have not been made public and is also not backed by any law. Further, the application can be used as a coercive method for relaxation purpose in economic activity. So with respect to privacy concerns on Aayog Setu app, you can further understand this video by going through the DNS dated 21st April 2020. So overall, this article says that the government is using technology at three levels, and at all these three levels, it is not sanctioned by any law. So the government need to come up with any legislation so that their use of technology with respect to surveillance purpose for COVID-19 virus becomes legally sanctioned or becomes legally viable. Now the next news to be discussed appears on page number 7 with respect to All India Home Rule League. Now this topic of Home Rule League becomes important because questions have been asked by UPSC in the prelims of 2019, 2013 as well as 2015. So here what we can do is to go through these questions asked by UPSC with respect to Home Rule League. So in 2019 the question was that in 1920 which of the following changed its name to Swaraj Sabha? In this the correct answer is All India Home Rule League. Further, in 2013, the question was, Annie Besant was first responsible for starting Home Rule movement, second the founder of Theosophical Society, and third once the president of Indian National Congress. In this, second option is incorrect as Annie Besant was not the founder of Theosophical Society. So here the question was select the correct statement or statements using the codes given below. So here the correct answer was C, that is 1 and 3 only. Further, another question was asked in the year 2015. The question was with respect to Rowlatt Satyagraha, which of the following statements are correct? Options are, first, Rowlatt Act was based on recommendations of the Sedition Committee. Yes, this is correct. Second, the Rowlatt Satyagraha, Gandhiji tried to utilize the Home Rule League. Yes, this statement is also correct. Now before moving forward, let's come to this particular news which has appeared on page number 7. Now important aspect to be understood here is the fact that it mentions that 100 years ago. So again for your 2020 prelims examination, Home Rule League becomes very important topic. Now this news highlights that Mahatma Gandhi joined the All India Home Rule League and accepted the office of the president of the league. Mr. Gandhi, writing to the press in that condition, said that he would engage the league, that is Home Rule League, if he can, with respect to activities such as promotion of Swadeshi, Hindu-Muslim unity, and also provided special reference to Khilafat movement. He also provided acceptance of Hindustani as the national lingua franca and linguistic redistribution of provinces. Further, Mahatma Gandhi proposed to treat Home Rule League as a non-party organization. So we understand that Mahatma Gandhi participated in the Home Rule League. So in this regard, the second option becomes correct, whereby it says that in Rowlatt Satyagraha, Gandhiji tried to utilize the Home Rule League movement. And third, demonstrations against the arrival of Simon Commission coincided with Rowlatt Satyagraha. No, this statement is incorrect as Simon Commission arrived much later. So the question was select the correct answer using the code given below. Here the correct answer is B, that is 1 and 2 only, as the third option is incorrect. Now it's important to note that both Annie Besant and Bal Gangadhar Tilak were actively involved with the Home Rule League. Now important aspects of Home Rule League has been provided in the PDF. So please go through the PDF to find out the important highlights with respect to Indian Home Rule League movement. Now after our discussion, these form your summary for your prelims examination. Now with respect to ADB, that is Asian Development Bank, it has given a loan of $1.5 billion to India, Indonesia and Philippines. Now ADB has established a CARES program, that is COVID-19 Active Response and Expenditure Support Program. Further, ADB has also said that it will support India in medium term with respect to socio-economic development as well as health infrastructure as well as with respect to India's MSME sector. Now Asian Development Bank was established in 1966. It is headquartered in Manila, and Japan, US, China, India and Australia are top 5 shareholders of Asian Development Bank. Now with respect to university and deemed university, They are established under the UGC Act of 1956. Center can declare an institution of higher education as deemed university on UGC's recommendation. Now, officials and functionaries of deemed universities are categorized as public servants as per a recent Supreme Court judgment under the Prevention of Corruption Act of 1988. Now, we also discussed about Global Terrorism Index 2019 report as it is published by Institute for Economics and Peace. Now, as per the report, India is 7th worst country affected by terrorism. Death caused by terrorism has declined by 15.2% from 2017-18, and maximum death from terrorism has occurred in Afghanistan. Now, according to the report, 4 deadliest organization or terrorist groups are Khorasan chapter of IS, Taliban, ISIL and Boko Haram. And Taliban has replaced ISIL as the deadliest terror organization. Now, it is interesting to note that US has recently negotiated a peace deal between Taliban as well as the Afghanistan civil government. Now, Khorasan chapter is an affiliate of ISIL, and Khorasan region covers part of Iran, Central Asia, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Further, we also discussed about United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, and it categorizes countries as country of particular concern, countries under special watch list, and it puts non-state actors or terrorist groups under entries of particular concern. And accordingly, the Commission has categorized India as country of particular concern. Further, International Religious Freedom Act of US defines country of particular concern as countries where the government engages in or tolerates particularly severe violations of religious freedom. Further, countries on special watch list are such countries where government engages in or tolerates in severe violations of religious freedom. Now, non-state actor as per International Religious Freedom Act are such non-sovereign entity that exercises significant political power and territorial control and is outside the control of sovereign government and often employs violence in pursuit of their objectives. Further, we also discussed about India Home Rule League movement. Now, the news highlighted that Mahatma Gandhi joined the All India Home Rule League and accepted the office of president of the league. Now, Home Rule League was India's response to First World War. The Indian Home Rule Leagues were organized on the lines of Irish Home Rule Leagues. Annie Besant and Bal Gangadhar Tilak were the pioneers of Home Rule League. Bal Gangadhar Tilak set up Home Rule League in April 1916 but was restricted to Maharashtra, excluding the city of Bombay, and also included Karnataka, central provinces and Berar, whereas Annie Besant's league was set up in September 1916 in Madras and covered rest of India, including the city of Bombay. So these can be said to be the summary for today's discussion with respect to your upcoming prelims examination. Now, after a discussion on summary for prelims, this is the question for the day. The question says, consider the following statements about Global Terrorism Index 2019. It is published by Institute for Economics and Peace. Second, India has been categorized as 7th worst country impacted by terrorism. And third, the report mentions 4 deadliest terrorist groups as Khorasan chapter of IS, Taliban, ISIL and Boko Haram. So the question is, which of the statements given above are correct? Options are A, 1 and 2 only, B, 3 only, C, 2 and 3 only, and D, 1, 2 and 3 only. Now, coming to the answer of yesterday, the question was, consider the following statements. CIPRI, an international organization based in Norway, publishes report about military expenditures across the world. So this statement is incorrect as it is based in Sweden. The second statement is, according to its report, India is the 3rd largest military spender in 2019. So the question was, which one the above are correct? So here the correct answer is B, that is 2 only. So with this we come to an end to discussion of today's analysis. Thank you.